love the box art that Tamiya does. So nice and so neat. And I found out, I was always wondering why they put 4x4x4, because it's a 4x4, it's a 4-wheel drive, and the other 4 is 4-wheel steering. So I just found that out. Included in this kit is a 540 motor and a twin motor ESC. Gotta love the box art. Man, you gotta like how Tamiya packs these boxes. It's so well organized and so neat the way they store everything in the box. These tires are just massive. It's going to be so cool having them on the truck. Can't wait to get this thing going. And we have the body here, a lot of chrome parts, full black body. So what's nice about this is I don't have to paint it if I want to leave it black, which I might. And then we have the chassis in the bottom, and then we have all the sticker. You forgot something. And then we have the carriers, and then we have the bags of goodies. So we'll open up these and find out what's all in here. And find out how many bearings I have in there. I see bushings and things like that. So then we have the rims and a lot of different plastic parts and a lot of different. Here's a windshield, which is tinted, which is nice. You don't have to tint it. And a lot of chrome stuff, chrome parts like the blower and things like that on top of there. So let's start looking at some bags, and then we can start building. So there is 4 bearings that comes with it, and the rest are all plastic bushing, and some are actually brass bushings. So somebody was asking me that question the other day, John from Netcruiser RC, so now I know the answer. There's the ESC, and we have bag A, B, C, D of nice goodies. Here's the 2 transmissions for front and rear. The shocks are nice and long. It's crazy. And then we have other transmission parts and a lot of different brass fittings. Some heavy little bags. Brass is always a little heavier. And there's the 2 540 motors. So, and they send you 2 tubes of grease. So I guess I'm going to have to grease up that little puppy good. So let's start building this little guy. I was wondering, I didn't see the manual. It's all the way underneath everything. So now I have the manual, I can start. Okay, I got the manual opened up, and here's some important information just to take care of yourself and make sure you don't endanger yourself. You guys can read that if ever you get a kit. It's kind of funny what they say and what they do. Super Clodbuster safety instruction. Follow the outline rules for safe and radio control operation. Cool. I won't bore you with all the details of it. So here's the body, and basically this is at the end when you actually put the body together. Well, it's at the end. You can basically do it anytime you want. But there is some paint that we have to use a little bit, some X6, TS14, X8. So that's all the borders and things like that, just to make it look a little bit fancier. It does have a tailgate, which is nice, but I don't think it opens. And then on the other side, it shows where to put all the stickers. Seems to be quite a bit of little stickers, but I've seen some Tamiya kits that have way more stickers than that one. Super Clodbuster. Looks like Wolverine. So you should read all the instruction as much as you can. Especially go through it, browse through everything just to make sure you understand what are the steps. The first thing we have to do is actually install the servo and install it into the tub. Body mounts, installing the servo again, battery attachment. Oh, that's where the battery is actually going to go and lie into it. And then we start building the axles. So most of this truck is all axles anyways, so that's going to be very interesting to put the arms in and things like that. And then putting it all together, putting the shocks together, putting the electronics. So it should be a pretty fast build to actually put together. And then we got to put the tires together. And then if you want to paint it, you can always paint it. And then it shows a whole bunch of different options that you can put on it. Stickers again. And then you get a part list at the end. So basically, that's the manual for the Clodbuster. So many bags to choose from. So many screws. But then they just tell you, they show you the picture, but they don't tell you which bag it is. But they do. What they mean by BB is bag B. Bag C, and this would be bag H. Problem is sometimes they don't put an H on the bag, so you do have to measure the ball or measure the stuff and use logic into it. So I got to open up the bags and find the proper screws. Okay, one of the first steps they want you to do is connect everything. So I usually just connect everything with this, find the center on the servo. And for this build, I'm actually going to use a Power HD servo. This is the LF 20 milligram servo from Power HD. Should be enough torque for the big wheels and all that for this build. Oh, if you want to know how to use this, I got a quick little tip video that shows how to use this. Link up above. So I got all my parts, all my plastic parts to do this step. So before actually putting it on there, I'm going to assemble everything together and then I will put it on there. So there we go. I've installed the 2 posts to hold the servo, and now I'm actually going to put the horn on. And to put the horn on, this was already centered. You just line it up as close as you can, very softly. And it should line up as close as you can to center, and you can always trim it later. But right now that looks pretty much where it's going to actually sit, because if I turn it one more notch, it goes more the other way. If I turn it one more the other way, it goes on the other side. So I'm going to squish this in there. That's on that side, but that's okay. One way or the other, it's going to go. And there we go. She's all squeezed in there. Now I'm going to put a screw to hold it there. For the next step is going to be part 3. So we're installing the rods and actually doing the rods. So I have the rods here and I have the rod ends and I have the plate for the servo. So let me put those together and be right back. There we go. My 2 rod ends are done. My servo plate is here. And now I can snap these together. Now, like they show in the drawing, you do have to put one like lying down and the other one standing up. So a little bit different than both of them. One on a 90 degree compared to the other. That's what I meant. So now we can snap these together. Sometimes they're very hard to do, so you can actually use a pair of pliers to put them together. I use a long nose. They sometimes can be tricky. So just be patient and just snap them on. There we go. Just like the picture. Amazing. I just got to screw the plate on. There we go. The plate's installed. Everything's done for step 3. I am going to install the servo where they want me to. Everybody has been telling me that they want I should do the steering mod on this, which means put the servo on the axle, but I'm going to run it stock and see how it actually runs. So the next step consists of installing all the plates and all the balls onto the chassis. I've already installed the bottom plate here with these balls. So the next ones are the side ones. So you do have to install these plates and install the balls. Those were installed with these were installed with the T-wrench. And then these are going to be installed with a screwdriver. They do have a slot on it to actually screw them. There we go. All the balls are installed around the around the chassis. And now You got to make sure that you do have the chassis the same way. In other words, the big hole in here and the small hole. So to make sure that the plate is actually the right way, because when you actually put the cover on, you actually have to see through it. If you don't have that, then the hole is going to be blocked. So just make sure you put it the right way. So now I'll put the 4 screws. I'll be right back. There we go. Bottom plate's all installed. And just putting that onto it gave it a little bit of weight. It's kind of cool. So the next few steps, we're going to have to put the front bumper, some body mounts, and then after the body mounts is done, we're going to install the servo into the bottom of this thing. And then once that's done, install the cap, and then that's what I want to start doing. I want to start building these axle. That's what I want to do. Anyways, let's put these parts together real quick. Okay, so I got my top part here and my front nice chrome bumper to put in the front. So I'm going to put this on real quick and I'll be right back after I put them. Now, screwing these screws into here, you do really have to be careful because it seems like you can torque them, but it's actually hitting. So if you tighten them too much, you will strip them. So be careful. As soon as you see that it actually hits the edge of it and that you're done, don't over tighten them because you will strip these. They're very easy to strip. That's what I noticed. There we go. Front's all done. Bumper's installed. So now it's just to install the rear real quick. Should be pretty quick. Only 4 screws to do. Okay, when installing the servo, please pay attention of exactly how the servo is actually positioned here and which rod you actually flip onto one side. So when you actually insert it into the 2 slots, that you are putting it the right way. So just be careful of the orientation and you should be fine. Okay, so I got all 4 of them. They actually show you the right and left, but they tell you to do it twice. So I'm actually gonna do all 4 of them at the same time. They do provide you 4 bearings. They are kind of sealed a little bit, but they're not sealed with plastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep these for the inside of it, inside of the truck. Like that, there's probably going to be less dirt there. And I'm going to keep the one that's got the double seal, they call it, for the outside. So that's where it's got more potential of having dirt. So they actually give you some plastic bushing for them. So, but I actually got the bearings, so I am not going to use a plastic. It tells you here the plastic, you need 4 and 4 for all 4 of them, which are here. So I'll put those together real quick. Everywhere they identify, you got to put some grease. So I got the grease there. I'm going to use theirs. So let me put this together real quick and come back. So there we go. I put the C-clip over here on this side, and now the only thing I have to do is I did grease and put some grease on there, put the bearing, and now you just insert it into the shaft. And everything should go into there. I'll have to squish this a little bit more and then put the other bearing at the other end. There we go. I've done all 4 of them. And it was pretty easy. It went pretty fast. I did put all 4 C-clips, 1 C-clip at each end with a washer. And I did not lose any C-clip, so everything turns honky-dory and everything is fine. So now it's time to start building the transmission. Yay! So I'm actually putting step 10 right now. And what's kind of neat is, I find, is they really think of everything. Well, they try to, I think. You do have 4 bolts that you have to put, but they do have another little tiny hole here. So you can see right here, there's a little tiny hole. And they do have a little knob on here. Right there, there's a little knob. So you got to match that knob to that. And that's where, and then you can't turn it. And that's where exactly where it goes. So you can't screw it up. In other words, put this way. Because they actually, that little knob tells you where to actually put it. So now I'm going to put the 4 screws. There we go. I've been putting these axles together, and while I'm doing that, you guys can actually go see it, but I'm on Big Head RC's live stream putting these together and then videotaping once in a while for you guys what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. go check out Big Head RC. Cool. Okay, I actually got the 4-axle actually installed onto the housing. So now it's time to put all the gears in there. So let me grease it all up and put it on one side, and before I close it, I'll show you guys. Okay, now that I've installed the first 2 gears, these are nice and smooth. And I did grease them up a little bit, and I'm going to put some more grease near the end of it. Now it's time to actually build the diff. So the diff is kind of cool in its own way. Got to put it all together, grease it up, and before I close it up, and I'll show you guys. So here are the 3 wheels that's in the diff. And basically how this is going to work is one goes on one side, the other one's going to go on the other side, and then when one turns, the wheels turn, and then it's going to turn the other one. And then when this will turn, it turns both of them at the same time. Really neat how a diff works. There we go. I'm telling you, the gear reduction in this thing is going to be crazy. So the motor is going to be attached to this gear here, and it's going to make it turn. So it's going to be neat and should have a lot of torque, this thing. So put it all together and close it up, grease it up. Well, this part was trickier than anticipated. So I got one done. Motor's all installed and everything. So basically its picture shows it like this way. Bracket is installed and everything like that. But installing that motor was tricky, especially that you have to install these sleeves into there and then put that into the hole here. And then you have to hold everything and pass through everything and hold the motor, hold the axle and everything. So it is tricky, but it's doable. It's everything is doable. But I did get it done. So now I got the second engine to actually motor to actually do engine, the electric motor to actually install. And it's pretty interesting how they've got the mesh. Usually it's a piece of plastic you put on top. This one is to actually, not the mesh, but to determine how far away to actually put it, is you actually put this against the motor and then make sure the pinion actually hits the groove. So that's interesting. So now to install the second motor onto there, and then I'm done the axles for now. Okay, both axles are done. And now move that over. It's time to do the links. So let's put those links together. There we go. All the ball joint installed. Step 17 is done. And now on to putting it on the axle itself. These things look kind of weird and wacky. There we go. First one installed. What's interesting in the way they've actually done it is that they do have a ball here molded into the axle. And they do have this that you actually clip onto it. You got to push on it. It actually clips. And then you put this cap on the other side, and it sandwiches everything together. And then it becomes your link. Very crafty and neaty how they've done that. There we go, both axles. I've got all the parts attached to it. What's very neat and interesting is the engineering that goes behind all this is the way the links are. This one is still very loose, but this one is actually attached in the front of the motor there. So I guess the whole thing is going to move this way. So I'm not sure why they actually put this one here. I would have thought they wanted to be able to move as much as possible. It's actually attached here. But another thing I was wondering is the strength of this, because It is plastic and it's going to hold the C-hub and all that, the carrier. But they do have this piece of metal here going all the way here, and the bumper is actually going to attach onto here. So this is very good engineering in their part to actually make this as strong as possible. Very neat. So I'm pleased so far of how this truck is actually coming together right now. Okay, after installing the braces, it was doing the front carriers for the wheel. This was completely neat and very weird to do because these things are massive, but those are massive wheels also. So everything is there, the C-clip is there, washers, just like they mentioned, and I did put oil. And I did put bearings in mine, so, and I did both of them. So one of them actually has 2 balls, and one set has 1. So it's very interesting how this is done. So now it's going to be doing the links for the front at the right length. This is the turning length. So now I'm going to put these together. Now to do these links, I do have a pair of pliers. They call it shock pliers. You could use that to do that, but not everybody has them. So one quick way I know of doing it is you can actually start screwing it and turning it. But as soon as it starts getting hard a little bit, it slides on your finger. So what I usually do is I do the other side also, and I start twisting the other side into it, and then I just take both of them and I just twist both of them at the same time. Yes, it will thread with it itself, and you can, and once it gets hard, theoretically both of them are going to get hard to turn at the same time, and they should go in pretty much at the same depth. And you can actually see as it turns, the thread counts stays pretty close to the same. And what's nice with the Tamiya book is you can actually put it right on top of it, and you can actually see how much you still have to turn it. So on this one, I have to turn still a lot. And I can actually turn this one more, or actually try to turn the other one more, but I'm trying to turn both of them at the same time. And that's how I do these links real quick. And it's starting to get hard on the fingers. Sometimes I use this, and then I can actually take another one and put it, and then I turn with this on. That makes it a little bit easier also. And right there, I'm right on the money, right on top of the image for the perfect size. So 1 done, 3 more to go. Okay, step 23 consists of what they call attaching the upright, which is the carriers of the wheel. So that's the next step, and then we're going to put the bell crank for the steering. We got to do this 2 times, this 2 times, because the front and the rear is the same. And then we got to go do this 2 times, the bumper, attach the bumper, and then we're going to start attaching everything to the chassis. So real quick, let me attach the front end to it, get to the next step. Okay, to install these ball links for the steering, there's a lot of different cars and trucks that actually use these. They actually tell you to use a needle nose to actually put it, but I find that because of the angle that it gives you sometimes, it's a little tough to actually put in. What I like using is channel locks for plumbing, because you can set the distance, and it's actually square. So when you're actually putting pressure, you're putting pressure on it properly from one side to the other. So it makes it real easier to actually clip on the ball end. Put it on there, and then you just squeeze, and then it clips it on. It makes it so much easier to actually clip on than using the needle nose. That's just a quick tip that I like using. There we go. Especially when you got 2 balls like this and you can actually trying to squish this into there, it becomes a little bit challenging. But with channel locks, it makes it a little easier. So with that, step 23 is actually done. Install the wheel carriers and the steering links. So now we're going to go and install the bell crank in the center. And that's where I temporarily stored the wire. There we go. The steering bell crank is installed on one of them, and this is the other side. So front and rear, one has to be to the right and the other one has to be to the left. And that's what they actually stipulate here, front and rear. And now let's build some bumpers. There we go. The cage is built. The bumper, I mean, not a cage. Well, look, kind of a cage. So 4 bolts times 2, and that's it installed. Pretty neat and pretty close how everything actually fits in there. So now to install the other bumper on the other one. Now the way you attach all the links to the ball end is kind of interesting, and the way they've engineered this is not mind-blowing, but pretty cool and interesting. So this actually fits in there. You got to go on an angle, and then you screw this onto there and everything holds together. And then you just clamp these together and install the shocks, and you're ready to go. So it's pretty cool. I'm starting to like the way they've built this. There we go. Install the clip, put all the grease in there, and clipped everything together. And without any shocks, it's kind of neat how it actually holds everything. But definitely got an interesting look to it. So now we start building the shocks. They give you rubber tubing and you have to cut them in different lengths. So let's put it right on top of the drawing, use my little X-Acto, and cut it. There we go, all 8 of them are done. Now these are basically called friction shocks, and they do not have any oil in them, but for now this is going to do. I might change them later, but I want to see how this truck actually runs when it's stock. So let's build the shocks. Okay, on the shocks, they do tell you to grease it up, put it in there, and then they show a little bolt, but they don't tell you any other little thing about this shock. And actually, I found something interesting, and I'm going to show you how I built the shocks. What I've done is I did put some grease on the shaft, and now I'm going to insert the shaft in there. And then I take it out. And then what I'm going to do is actually put the screwdriver in there to actually hold this in there while I put the rest of the stuff. So here goes the rubber. They do tell you to put the bolt there, but what they don't tell you is how far to go with it. So the easiest thing is bringing it all the way until it can't go. And now we're going to put the shock, the spring I mean, and then we're going to use the cap. This is where you got to get crafty and hold everything while you actually screw everything. So hold that in there, and then you start twisting. Now you're going to screw until the bolt actually gets to the cap. And once it stops, it really gets hard to screw, then you know you're at the end. I'm almost there. It's really getting hard, so now it's really hard. Now the bolt is actually touching the red cap. I am at the end. Now I can put the top and just snap it in there. There we go. Shock is done. This is the stopper, and it's basically because the weight of this thing. You don't have to put it, but then it would be just more bouncy. But I think it's going to make a good addition. Now let's install them. Here we go. Step 29 consists of installing the shocks, and they are all installed. There's not a lot of suspension, but it is kind of neat. And I know that there's a lot of bump steer on that, and the steering is awful. And the best way to fix the steering is putting a servo on axle. But like I said, this is going to run stock for now. Now let's go down to the next step, and that's installing the rest of the electronic and the pan inside. So I've installed the ESC like they say, so the first motor yellow on yellow and green on blue, and then you do have to reverse the polarity on the rear motor. So I've done that. I've installed the ESC, I've installed the plate, so that's done, and I've installed the receiver also. So the next step is the wheels. Now the wheels are very interesting. These rims are friggin' huge and the tires are huge also. But what I find interesting is the hex and the way the hex is on this truck. And I think every truck should be that way. So they have actually little threads on it that you can actually, they don't use a pin. So this is interesting. And this is the hex that actually has the same thread on it. And then you just put that in there and it actually locks itself, so you don't have to deal with pins. That is interesting. So these are the wheels. In the inside it's actually black chrome. You can tell that it's actually black chrome. But on the inside it's actually the regular chrome, so you can really tell the difference between the two from the inside of the hub and the outside. So big difference. And these are actually the tires. There's a mountain of tires. These tires are massive. And here it is with the rim in there. Now for now I won't glue them. I won't bother gluing them. But what I'm actually thinking of doing is actually plugging the hole inside. Because if I want to go in the water, I don't want any water to go in here. But it is going to create kind of a, right now it is kind of bouncy. And well, bouncy, that means the air comes out. But if I plug the hole, then it's going to act like real air in there. So to me, it's going to be, might be a little bit funner, but I don't know how hard it's going to be on this suspension. So right now there's no foam, it's just air. Now here's the best way to put these big rims into these tires. If you push them straight, it is tough. So best way to do it is keep it on a big angle like that, and then you'll push it in all the way, and then you keep the angle until you reach actually here. Let me show you. Best way to do it, I find, is not on the table, is on my lap. So I'm gonna keep it on a big angle and actually just push it right in. One tire's in, and then you can keep the same angle again, and then keep pulling and pushing till you get one side in, and then you just roll all the way around until your tire's in. Now the tire's in the front. Now we can work on the back. The back is basically the same way because you are kind of at an angle already. It's almost already in. So you can actually start working its way in. Makes it a little bit easier for the back. And there we go. Tire is in. Don't forget, when you do these tires, you do have to make sure the rim's on the nice side. And you see the V-groove goes this way. And then you have to make two other ones that the V-groove goes the other way. That way, when you put the tires on each side, when you put the tires where they go, the V-groove goes the same way. There we go, tires are installed. Man, this thing is massive with these tires. This is going to be so cool. Now time to work on the body. Okay, I took all the parts for the body, and then I noticed it actually comes with some chrome stickers, which is cool. I didn't notice that, and I do have these. So I'm going to look where to put these. They look awesome, especially on the black truck. Ooh. Here we go. I just did step 36, which is installing the light bar. Now I got to put the buckets on there. And I also did the big scoop. So That's going to look good on the truck. I'll show you that in a little bit. It's actually on the bottom, on the ground. Putting stickers on, always hard, always tough. But I did end up putting the metal sticker that they provide you for this. But I do have a little trick I want to pass by you guys, and I usually use a X-Acto to actually cut them. So with an X-Acto, I think I can come up very close to the line without cutting the line. So I use an X-Acto to actually cut. So you can use any one you want. I like using one of these, so I use the tip, and I can use more of it, more of the blade. Make sure it's very sharp, so you need a new blade every time you start this. And then what I do is I make sure I cut all the way through. So I actually have the sticker, and then I actually put it where it needs to go, just to make sure it actually fits exactly how it goes. Because if you try to stick one in and then you try to put it, it's never at the right place. So what I usually do after, I use Scotch tape. So I take a piece of Scotch tape like this. I bend one end in just a little bit, so it gives me a pulling tab, so it's a little easier to take off after. So you make sure you put it exactly where you want it. You put it exactly where you want it, then you put a piece of Scotch tape on it. So I got a piece of Scotch tape at one end, so I'll make another one. And I'll put it over here, make sure everything is nice and straight. Then I just make sure the Scotch tape is actually bent all the way. Because this is long and so on, I make sure everything matches, and then I just fold it back. And then you can use your X-Acto, sorry for moving the camera, and then I just try peeling the sticker off of the back. Come on, there we go. So this is a metal sticker, so you do have to be careful and make sure your car is nice and clean. And then I just fold it back where it actually goes. And once that's done, you can start taking off your Scotch tape, because you got a pull tab on it. It's easy to take it off. And then you just rub it and clean it at the same time. Make sure everything is nice and tidy. There we go. Sticker is perfectly where it needs to go. That's a quick tip how to put stickers. You can actually do this with pretty much any stickers. Like these, I do the same thing. And I will show you once I put the big one. And I like cutting with the X-Acto because I can come pretty close to the sticker. And then when you actually put it on, it's way nicer. It's a cleaner look if you try to take off as much sticker as you want, especially the clear one. I'm not sure I'll take off between the T and the S, but I will cut it as close as I can to it. Okay, here's the reason why I like using an X-Acto to actually cut the stickers. I find it so much easier. So I usually do a little line where it actually goes, and then I barely put any pressure on it, and then I can actually turn, especially these ones that are in the circle, you just turn the logo around, the whole sheet around, and then you just keep turning and you just keep cutting all the way around, and then you can do a nice round circle on it and all the way up to the edges. So you can do a pretty good job cutting them, and I'm barely putting any pressure on it. And because I did a little line on it that I know where I started, I know that I'm almost done, and I find this way faster than using scissors. And once you're done, you can actually take your X-Acto, go right under the sticker, put a little bit of pressure on it, and there we go. We got it. Now we can just stick this and not even put a fingerprint under it, and put it right on the light. So they told me to paint these white, but I went red because on the hood and a little bit everywhere they have the metal and they have that red stripe. So I think this is going to stand out a little bit better by putting these light red instead of the light covers red instead of white. So I use it on the knife like this because you can actually line it up and make sure you're dead on center before pushing on it, and make sure you're pretty straight. Remove it and you're done. One light. I got 4 more to go. There we go. All 5 of them done. I think it looks way better with the chrome and the red instead of chrome and white. The white would have got lost in the chrome, so I'm liking it. So here we go. To actually install the license plate, it's so easier having it on a knife because you can actually line it up straight right in the hole where you want to put it, and then you just put pressure, pull your knife out, and there we go, perfectly centered. Perfect. So here's something with this sticker. You have to put it right around the handle for the door. So, and it goes all the way up to the front, and then you have the rear. So before putting on the rear, I have to find out which height it's going to be, and the height is going to be determined by the door handle. So I got to cut it up and then stick it under the door. That's going to give me the proper height for that. So let's cut it up and put it on. There we go, all cut up. And now I can actually take it and put it right underneath the door knob, right under there, and it gives me the perfect height on where it needs to go all the way up to the front. So I can actually line it up, and because I did not take off the backing yet, I can line it up and do my Scotch tape trick to make sure that everything follows the body line all the way up to the front. Like that, I know my sticker is going to be nice and straight. Time to stick it on. Okay, now that the Scotch tape's on, let's take off the backing off of it and stick it on. Do have to be careful a little bit at the other end because it was on an angle, so I couldn't put any tape. So now I can start pushing it. Door handle is giving me a little bit of a hassle, but it should be fine. Then I'll roll the end here into the groove and I should be fine. Sweet. There we go. Just lined up the Super Clodbuster sticker before sticking it to make sure it's exactly where it looks like on the picture. So basically I'm trying to make it look as close as possible to that. So this is pretty good. So I'll remove the back, stick on the sticker right there. was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching, and watch out for more videos of this beast. Sweet truck. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring the bell for more videos.